South Africa, the land where oceans meet, mountains rise and cultures converge. Known as the Rainbow Nation, it's one of the most diverse and dynamic countries on the African continent. From the bustling streets of Johannesburg to the breathtaking coastline of Cape Town, from the historic struggle of apartheid to the vibrant hope of democracy, South Africa is a place where history and future walk side by side. It's rich in minerals, home to iconic wildlife, and shaped by a resilient people whose voices echo across politics, art, and global affairs. Whether you're drawn by its natural beauty, its powerful past, or its bold place in today's world, South Africa is a nation that refuses to be ignored. South Africa is blessed with diverse geography, majestic mountains, golden beaches, wild savannas, desert dunes, and lush forests. Whether you're hiking Table Mountain, exploring the Drakensberg, or watching whales in Hermanus, the scenery is nothing short of breathtaking. South Africa's peaceful transition from apartheid to democracy is one of the most inspiring political transformations in modern history. Figures like Nelson Mandela showed the world the power of forgiveness, dialogue, and unity. It's one of the best places on earth to see animals in the wild. The Big Five, lion, leopard, rhino, elephant, buffalo, roam free in reserves like Kruger National Park. Ecotourism and safaris here are world-class. South Africa is known as the Rainbow Nation for a reason. It celebrates a rich mix of ethnic groups, traditions, and 11 official languages. This makes the culture, music, cuisine, and festivals incredibly vibrant and varied. All right, my brothers and sisters, buckle up. We're heading down south. Not just anywhere, but to the beautiful, diverse, and endlessly captivating land of South Africa. Pull out your mental maps and take a look. From the buzzing metropolis of Johannesburg to the oceanside calm of Cape Town, to the vast valleys of KwaZulu-Natal and the historical hills of Limpopo, this land is a gift. Now, if you're watching this from overseas, maybe from America, Europe, the Caribbean, or Asia, and you've ever considered visiting Africa, let me tell you something. Straight, South Africa should be at the top of your list, not only because of the scenic beauty or the warm, soulful people, but because in South Africa, you're not going to lose yourself. You're going to find yourself, no doubt about it. The diversity, insane. The culture, deep. The history, powerful. The political drama, oh, we're going there too. And speaking of politics, let's talk about the man at the helm, President Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, before we dive into the drama, let's rewind a little. The South African president made headlines not long ago when he spoke out boldly about former US President Donald Trump. He said, and I quote, "When I meet him, I will tell him, you, Donald Trump, are even worse than your forefathers." Yes, that's what he said. Fire in his voice, a bold leader standing tall in defense of African dignity, and many people cheered. Many said, "Finally, a president standing up to Western arrogance." But then, time passed. The moment came. President Ramaphosa traveled to the United States. He sat across the table from Donald Trump. And what happened? No fireworks, no confrontation, no repeat of those powerful words. Instead, diplomacy, politeness, careful dialogue, strategic silence. Now wait, don't judge too quickly. Let's break it down. Ramaphosa explained the situation in Parliament when he got back home. But of course, Parliament being Parliament, things weren't so smooth. As he tried to speak, opposition members, particularly from the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, interrupted him, demanding answers. They wanted to know, did you stand your ground, or did you fold under pressure? One MP, Honourable Malt, even had to be kicked out of the chamber after repeated interruptions. The speaker warned her several times, but eventually said, "Please leave the chamber," so that the president could actually talk. When things settled, Ramaphosa took the mic. And this is where the story gets deep. He started by acknowledging that yes, there have been growing concerns in South Africa about its relationship with the United States. He said many citizens had expressed discomfort with how distant the two countries had become, despite how important they are to each other, economically, diplomatically, politically. Let's talk economics. Did you know that over 600 US companies are actively invested in South Africa? That's not pocket change. That's billions of rands in industry, jobs, training, manufacturing, and more. These companies aren't just sitting in boardrooms. They're building cars in the Eastern Cape, exporting fruit from Western Cape, and extracting minerals that power the global economy. So here's the real question. As a leader, can you afford to burn that bridge? Can you, for the sake of rhetoric and ego, walk away from partnerships that feed your people, employ your youth, and build your infrastructure? That's the razor-sharp balance Ramaphosa had to walk. And he knew it. He shared that his trip to Washington had three major goals. Reset the relationship. He said, we needed to reset the relationship. Why? Because the diplomatic ties had broken down. The US wasn't taking South Africa seriously anymore. In fact, the situation had gotten so tense that the US expelled the South African ambassador after he criticized Trump's leadership. Communication between the two countries had fallen so low that officials were speaking via Twitter, not through embassies, not through summits, not through proper diplomatic channels. Just tweets. That is not how two sovereign nations should be engaging. So Ramaphosa knew something had to be done. He needed to open up the lines again, face to face. Restart government-to-government engagement. The second objective was to restart direct government engagement. Trade relations had stalled. Dialogue on key issues like agriculture, tariffs, and investment had gone silent. Ramaphosa emphasized that it was time to bring those talks back to life. Because here's the truth: South Africa needs access to international markets. American consumers buy South African products, fruits, wine, automobiles, platinum, aluminum, and more. For instance, those Mercedes-Benz C-Class cars you see rolling through Los Angeles. A good number of them are manufactured in East London, South Africa. Fruits like oranges and avocados, exported to US shelves under favorable tax agreements like the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. That's revenue, that's jobs, that's food on the table. Could South Africa really afford to throw all of that away just to make a political statement? Address the G20 crisis. The third mission, the G20. As you may know, South Africa plays a pivotal role in that group of global economic leaders. But Trump had threatened to boycott G20 events hosted by South Africa, largely due to South Africa's ongoing ties with Russia. That put South Africa in a tight spot. On one hand, you've got a long-standing political, cultural, and economic friendship with Russia. On the other hand, you've got powerful trade relations with the US. So what do? Alienate one to please the other? Ramaphosa chose a third way: dialogue. He wanted to bring Trump back to the G20 table, not just for photo ops, but for the sake of multilateralism and Africa's voice in global matters. But let's get real. Some people say Ramaphosa sold out. Others say he bowed to the West. But here's another way to look at it. Maybe he made the hard call that a real leader makes, choosing diplomacy over defiance, strategy over symbolism. He admitted that the meeting with Trump wasn't just what people saw on TV. Behind closed doors, during lunch and in quieter rooms, real conversations took place. On trade, on Africa's development, on peace and security. He believes the trip succeeded, not in tweets, but in actions. And since that visit, high-level communication between the US and South Africa has resumed. So what now? Where does that leave South Africa's relationship with Russia? Have there been quiet phone calls between Ramaphosa and Putin explaining the move? Does Russia understand the tightrope South Africa is walking? Or are we heading into a new Cold War, where Africa is once again forced to choose sides between superpowers? And for those of us who believe in Pan-Africanism, the dream of full economic and political independence from the West, the question is this: has Ramaphosa betrayed that dream? Or has he simply postponed it for the sake of stability? In a world run by giants, can a lion of the South still roar while playing the long game? That's the challenge, and that's the debate. So now I turn to you. Do you think President Ramaphosa did the right thing? Was his trip to America a necessary move for the people of South Africa, or a betrayal of Africa's fight for sovereignty? How will Russia react? Will this fracture Africa's unity or strengthen it in the long run? And finally, is there room in today's world for an African nation to speak boldly and keep the lights on? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk. Let's reflect. Let's not be afraid to confront complexity. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay free, and may God bless the continent of Africa.